This video is about how to do a crown prep on a posterior tooth. Now, if you're a dentist or a dental student, you probably already know generally what to do, or you may know very well what to do, but you might have typed into YouTube, or you might be looking for some tips which might help. So I'm going to walk through how I do a crown prep with tips that have been shown to me, things that I find helpful, and hopefully something in the video you'll find a useful tip to carry forwards. So let's do it. So we actually filmed this video yesterday and we did this crown prep. Yeah. And the light, the light on the handpiece was so bright that you actually couldn't see anything. So we're going to prep the same tooth on the other side, but that's an example of what we're working towards. And what we're going to go through in the video is the steps that I've been taught that I usually follow. It seems to work quite well. Occlusal reduction, breaking the contacts, preparing the margin, and then polishing the prep at the end. So let's do it. So I'm just getting everything set up and we'll start the crown prep. So like I said earlier, at least I think I said, the first thing I tend to do is reduce the occlusal height. So I'm doing depth grooves here. So I know my burr is about 1 millimeter, so I'm going slightly deeper than the width of my burr, so I'm giving about a bit more than 1 millimeter. And once I've polished between those grooves, so I do individual grooves and then polish between them, I'll have about 1.5 millimeter reduction across the top. And then after I've reduced the general height by about 1.5 millimeters, I'll reduce a bit further on the sort of cusp tips, just so there's a bit more room there. And then the next thing I'm doing here is opening the contact point. I'm not trying to get a margin, I'm just trying to clear through the contact point. Now, some people would get a thin burr, line it up with the whole contact point and go through. What I sometimes do is go from the top and work my way down. And because the tooth is tapered, you can, if you go down sort of above the top of the contact point, you're not going to create a massive shoulder, you'll reduce a reasonable amount. What I'm doing now is preparing the margin. So at the moment, things change, but at the moment I like preparing the margin first. So I'm making this groove all the way around the outside, about the width of my burr again, probably slightly less, so a bit less than 1 mil. So I've got a nice smooth margin, and then I will, so it's got a massive undercut, and then I will line up my long straight diamond burr and remove the undercut all the way around, so I'm not worrying about the margin because it's already there. And then I've got the sort of outside of my prep done. So I saw somebody do that. That technique currently is what I've been using. Other people will just line up the burr and do the margin and reduce the wall at the same time. So now I'm just refining the prep. So to recap, I reduced the occlusal surface with depth grooves, then I opened up the contact, then I created the margin all the way around, including through the contact point. Then I made sure that there's no undercuts and that it's a parallel prep. That one way that I check is to sort of look through the mirror, or directly if you've got the right angle. To check, you can see the margin all the way around, to check that there's no undercuts. So you want a clearly visible margin, you want no undercuts, you want to be able to see all the way around the prep. You want smooth angles, you don't want any sharp edges that make porcelain and stuff more likely to fracture. And then what I'm doing here is feeling with a probe around the edge of the margin to check for no bumps. I'm looking from above as well, just to check that I can see the margin all the way around. I'm checking 2 preps because I did one in the first video that didn't work with the light. So there is a walkthrough of how I would do a crown prep, some of the tips that I've been given. Hopefully you find it helpful. If you've been thinking throughout this, gosh, the colour of those scrubs is so nice, I've never seen that before, that's because it's a unique colour. We'll leave the link in the description to the scrubs that I made, Sera Scrubs, if you want to check them out. If you've got any questions about other things you'd like tips on, give us a shout in the comments and hit the subscribe button to see more videos like this.